What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with the GC Cup preview for this week's Memorial. Before we get into that, we have to look back at last week's Charles Schwab Challenge that, quite honestly, I kind of forgot all about it. It was a absolute bloodbath of a week. A lot of guys missing the cut. My lineups in general did not do very well. My one and dones were brutal. I was out running around. I mean, life kind of got in the way last week. I did not watch a lot of the Charles Schwab, quite honestly, which means I didn't really sweat most of my contests or the Gups Corner Cup. But lo and behold, we are right back in this thing with an 8th place finish last week. If you remember, we were on a stretch of just absolutely horrible finishes. I think we had 5 straight zeros between 4 missed cuts and a lineup that I forgot to click submit on that would have finished 29th. It was just, we were really, really down in the dumps. We actually benefit from all of that carnage this week because we did get 6 of 6 through. So if you're watching on the video version of this, you're looking at the 8th place finishing lineup of Jim Furyk, Taylor Gooch, Francesco Molinari, Justin Rose, Brandt Snedeker, and Vaughn Taylor. Not a single one of those guys finished inside the top 12, but when you have 6 guys get through the cut in a week like we had last week, 349 total points is going to get you a top 10 finish. So just to kind of talk a little bit about this lineup, because it's probably kind of an unusual build for me. To go up and spend on, I guess we kind of spent up on Rose, we spent up on Molinari, go down really low on Vaughn Taylor, stay pretty low on Taylor Gooch. Like this is a lineup that I don't get to often, quite honestly. But it ended up being Furyk at 15%, Gooch at 4.4. So Gooch finished top 30. He had a really great Sunday, but made a bunch of birdies on Sunday that really helped his DraftKings scoring. Like you can tell, Gooch scored 70 DraftKings points and finished 29th. Furyk scored 1 less, 69 DraftKings points, and finished 13th. So obviously the birdie barrage that he put together was helpful. Molinari was 22% owned, very, very chalky. Finished T53, but at least he made the cut. Justin Rose, T58. So the 2 guys that we spent up on the most, they do make the cut, but don't really return much more than that. And then Snedeker was the super chalk. Surprised to see him at 38.5%. Finished T19 for 68 points, and then we had Vaughn Taylor as well. So that's the lineup. Let's just compare it very quickly to the winner, who was KB Reardon PGA, I believe is the name here. He also, no surprise, had a 6 of 6 and had Kevin Na. So the lineup was Duffner, Hoffman, Knox, Na, Palmer, and Spieth. So he had, he actually had 4 players finish in the top 10, including the winner. Charlie Hoffman, T13, and Jason Duffner, T40 for 498 points. To put that into perspective, the guy that finished second had 401 points, of nearly 100-point lapping of the field that KB Reardon did. I'm wondering where that would have put him in some GPPs last week, which is a game I hate to play, but it's not for me, so we'll play it for somebody else. Well, I'm hoping you entered it into some other things. 498.5 would have won the birdie last week, which is my favorite little 20 max tournament. Probably would have won most of the single entries. It would have won the Pat Mayo Experience Open. So hopefully you put it in some other things. Really great lineup here. Congrats. Glad to see you take it. That's a very, very impressive win. So this is an important week. So this week for the Memorial is critical because let's do a quick recap of where we stand in this thing. So finally, back on the positive side, we got 85 points for our 8th place finish last week, which gives us 381 for the season. We are in 62nd place. We just wrapped on segment 2, in which I finished 37th. We're currently 123rd in the majors, so I don't think we'll be threatening there. But this is the start of segment 3. So this is the home stretch. This is the final, how many tournaments? 10 tournaments before we get to the playoffs. And remember, you have to qualify for the playoffs. You have to be in the top 125 to get to the final 3 tournaments. So right now, squarely within that, I guess anything can happen, but I like our position. But we want to be within striking distance of first when we get into the playoffs, right? You're going to have to advance each round just like they do on the PGA Tour. And we're going to need to advance. We're going to need to survive. I think there's 30 entries into the final tour championship, and we want to be within striking distance when we get there. So if we go back to the standings, you can see Rory Fraz 02 has 1,400 points. He's having a hell of a year. So we are, let's see, about 1,000 or so behind. If we win one of these, if we go out and get 500 or 600 points, we'll probably vault up into the top 10 or so. So still plenty of action left. We've got 10 more cracks at this thing. And just to remind you what the payouts are. So every event, you get they pay out 1 through 5. So like first place in a regular event is $80. In a big event, which is like your majors, you'd win 160. So that's like the weekly prize, right? First through fifth pay. Each segment pays. So this is entering segment 3, where the winner of segment 3 would get $600, all the way down to fifth, which would receive $150. And then the season-long prize that we're going to end up vying for is a prize pool of $20,000 split between the top 10 players, $6,000 for first, down to $500 for 10th. So this really is the home stretch. This is pedal to the metal. I'm glad we're able to put some points on the board last week. They were absolutely critical. They were much needed. Now we focus our attention for the final leg of this. So for this week's Memorial, here's the lineup that we're going with if you're looking at it on the screen. And this is kind of a hybrid lineup for something that I would, normally create. I either go, it's not really balanced, so to speak. It's not really stars and scrubs. I usually don't go as low as I do in the salary. So let's start there. I plugged in $6,100 KJ Choi, mostly out of fun, quite honestly. No, I mean, KJ has obviously played well recently. And when I say well, this is all put this into perspective here. For a guy who's $6,100, he has made 2 cuts in a row, with the last one being a top 10. That's very, very well for a guy at $6,100. That would not be well for a guy who's $10,000, obviously. Okay, so KJ Choi 6,100. So KJ kind of came up in a chat I was having with somebody, and ended up plugging him in there for $6,100. If he makes the cut, we're absolutely thrilled. And then the rest of this lineup is kind of like a standard Rick lineup, quite honestly. I targeted golfers who I thought were undervalued, obviously, and golfers who are in potential bounce back type situations. So when you look at Billy Horschel, who, if you look back, okay, so Billy burned us all a couple of weeks ago. I guess I can see when that was. When he missed that cut, oh man, how long ago was that? Valero, wow, feels like it was shorter than that. He had the longest cuts made streak on the PGA Tour at that point. I believe it was like 20-something events in a row. So he's usually very, very solid. He burned us there, but has been playing well. His finishes still continue to trend upward. 52nd, 45th, 23rd, 19th in his last 4 starts. And also leaving a lot of strokes out there putting. So when we went over the strokes gained numbers on the DFS video, he popped up as a guy where he's probably leaving some strokes on the table on the greens. Stenson is just the most elite approach player in the field for $8,500. And when you have the ability to roster that guy, you do it. Adam Scott is a guy that I think I don't know. On Monday, I would have thought he was going to be a little bit overlooked. Not really sure how it is 12 hours before lock or 11 hours before lock. But Adam Scott, stats-wise, tee to green-wise, one of the hottest players on the planet in the last 30 days. He's right up there with Rory and Patrick Cantlay. Guys are just playing super well. Xander Schauffele at 9,000. This to me is the biggest pricing mistake this week, where Xander is absolutely a high-class player who can win any tournament. Went out and had one of the worst. He actually did have his worst round of the year Thursday at the Charles Schwab. Just could not rebound after that. Missed the cut. looking for a big bounce back week. And then Tony Finau is kind of interesting because Tony's always popular. But you also have Matt Kuchar, who I think is like $9,500 or $9,400, who he's $9,400. I expect to be supremely popular, right? Kuchar's won here in the past. His season's been awesome. His tournament course history has been awesome. So I'm trying to get Finau in a position where he might not be as popular as he always is, and he always makes a ton of birdies, right? So if he finishes 25th in the tournament, he might finish like 12th in DraftKings scoring because he makes enough birdies. A guy that can destroy some of these par fives, which is what you're going to have to do this week. So that's the lineup for this week. Let me know what you think. This is the home stretch. If you're still in it, shoot me a note, tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. I'll talk to you guys later. Good luck.